I'd like to do for the next 40 minutes or so is talk about value, but before I do, I'd just like to ask a couple of questions. Will you put your hands up, please, if you believe that the products and services that you supply are really first class? Excellent, that's a really good start. I'm worried. No, keep them up. Keep your hands up if you think that the products and services that you supply have at least one or two distinct advantages when compared with your competitors. Not a single hand has gone down so far, which is great. Would you keep your hands up if the price that you charge for your products or services is the same as or lower than your main competitors? Question mark. Keep your hands up if the price that you charge is the same as or lower than your key competitors. So if you're, yes, I'm going to say, I was getting rather overexcited there. Normally I have to say most hands stay up, so really you put them down there. But basically what you're saying is that despite the fact that you consider that the products and services you supply to be better than the majority of your competitors, the price that you charge tends to be the same as or lower than the prices that your competitors are charging. So there is a gap there between the value of what you perceive you are delivering and the prices that you're getting paid for that. So would it be fair to say that in an ideal world you would like to charge perhaps a little bit more, a huge amount more, but a little bit more than you are currently charging? And I'm not going to say that over the next 40 minutes I'm going to wave a magic wand and suddenly allow you to do just that. But I think it's important to understand why it is we find it difficult to do that. And we'll take a look at some of the reasons behind that in a second. But just imagine for a moment that you could increase your prices by just 1%. And it's something I call the power of one. A 1% price increase, according to Standard & Poor, who did some research in the United States, and I have done subsequent research over here, a 1% price increase drops down into around 8 to 11% improvement in bottom line profitability. So 1% improvement in price gives you somewhere between 8 and 11% improvement in bottom line profitability. And I have to say that I have worked with clients where that improvement has been in excess of 20%. So you imagine being able to add 20% to your bottom line profitability. Well, that would be really quite nice. Nobody's going to suggest that it's easy to do, but it gives you some idea of, if you like, the size of the prize. So I guess the question then is, why do people find it so difficult to raise their prices? And generally speaking, we find that there are four primary reasons that people tell us why they find it difficult to raise prices. Number one, and this is not in any particular order, but number one is, well, we can't actually raise our prices because we aren't one of the big people, our brand isn't well known, and therefore we feel we have to be less expensive than our bigger rivals. Anybody feel that way about their pricing? Anybody feel that they're keeping their prices lower than their big, well-known, named, branded competitors? How about this one? We can't raise our prices because our customers are only interested in price. Nods. Anybody else? Our customers are only interested in price. The general answer to that is, if your customers were only interested in price, none of us would have any business. Because I've never come across a company who are the least expensive in the area in which they work, and yet they all still have business. So price was the absolute number one determinant. None of us would be in business. There would be some very, very rich person providing an awful lot of stuff at next to nothing. And that doesn't happen either. We can't put our prices up because our competitors aren't doing, and therefore we can't. Anybody feel that way? That because of what competitors are doing in your marketplace, it's difficult, yeah? Anybody else find that that's a difficulty? The action of your competitors makes it difficult to improve prices? Yeah, I think very often that's the case. And finally, the final reason we tend to get given is, if we put our prices up, our volumes will fall and we'll lose business. Anybody think they'll lose business if they put prices up? I think perhaps of all of them, that's the one. We're frightened. We're actually frightened to put prices up because we're frightened of what might happen. And the one thing we think is going to happen is the last thing that we want to happen. But we'll come back to that. The reality is that in our experience, the primary reason that people do not put their prices up is because they don't actually understand value. And this really stems from understanding what it is that we're actually selling to our customers. What is it that our customers are actually buying? And if we think our customers are just buying a product, then price starts to become increasingly important because it's very easy to commoditize that. But if we think we're providing a solution, an all-inclusive package of things that our customers are purchasing, then it becomes much easier to differentiate what we do. And the ability to differentiate is absolutely fundamental to our ability to charge what we're actually worth. So that starts to point us in this direction of value. And I think that there are a number of challenges associated with value, a number of things that are really key. The first challenge is actually understanding what value is. And the reality is that with many people that I talk to, they talk about the fact that they sell and deliver value to their customers, but when you actually ask them what that value is, they find it incredibly difficult to articulate. They can't actually say what it is. And if they can say what it is, they define it from their point of view and not from their customer's point of view. And that's a real problem, because what we think value is and what the customers think value is are very often two completely different things. So what I'd like you to do, on the basis that I think it's important that you work, I'm going to give each table a card, and I'm going to give you no more than 5 minutes. So each table, what I'd like you to do is I would like you to come up with your definition of value. Okay, so I want you to sort of Oxford Dictionary definition of value. And so your sentence starts, value is. We're done. Are we done? Has everybody got an answer which they feel comfortable with? Now, let's be honest, wasn't that easy? Right? Isn't it extraordinary? This is what we sell, guys. This is what we sell to all of our clients. We sell the value of the products and services that we deliver for them, and yet we find it incredibly difficult to really articulate what value is. And this really came about. I was fortunate enough to be doing a conference in Copenhagen a few years ago for a client. I've been speaking to the sales guys the night before, and they were all telling me about the value of what they did for their customers. So I thought in the morning, I thought it'd be a bit of a breeze to ask them to define value. And in exactly the same way that I've done with you, there were about 120 of them there. They were sat round in tables of 10. And I said, right, all I'd like you to do is to just come up with your definition of value. And instantaneously, it was clear the difficulty that they were having, because they were all sort of looking at each other. It went quiet, and then people started. And then I got back 10 cards, and every single definition was different in some way or another. Now, I say that in the forlorn hope that I'm now going to get at least 5 slightly different definitions. Because if they're all the same, this has all gone a bit pear-shaped, if you think about it. So let me turn to this table first. Ken, you have this table's definition, and it is?
Value is when you're satisfied with price, service, and fulfil the need.
Right, can I grab the chart from you just so that, okay?
So I can't change it?
No. Well,
that's a very good point.
That wasn't actually the reason why I was getting it, but it'll do. Christine.
Right, value is achieving results in line with perceived benefits, meeting decision criteria and addressing the need.
Right, yeah, thank you very much. So slightly different, but again, price, service and fulfilling need are in both of those. Who's got this one?
I have. Value is providing a solution which exceeds expectations.
Right, a value that exceeds expectations. We'll come back to that one, I fancy.
I thought you might.
Value is an intangible benefit above that determined by the price. So you or the client will feel you've had value for money for the product or service by it not being necessarily the cheapest.
I don't know which edition of the Oxford English.
That's Wikipedia.
This is clearly the South African version, isn't it?
South African media.
Last but by no means least.
Yeah, value is what the recipient considers the product or service to be of fair cost and quality for the benefit they derive.
Very much. So I knew I'd get some quality from the back of the table. Right. Fair to say that there are, nevertheless, whilst there are similarities, there are 5 slightly different versions of what value is. And as I said, I had a whole variety of definitions from other companies and other people. I got the cost of not having something is greater than the cost of having it, which I thought was quite an interesting definition. Yeah, it was strange. Value is a compelling, tangible and emotional return on time and money invested. And I like that one a bit. I like that one a bit.
Read that one again.
Say that one again. Just read that again.
Sorry. Value is a compelling, tangible and emotional return on time and money invested. See, because I think value has a number of components, but in broad terms, they fall into 2 categories in my view. There are the tangible components of value, and then there are the intangible components of value. And we use a process called the value triad, which is something we developed as a result of this workshop in Copenhagen, because not only did we find that they found it very, very hard to define value in the first place, in terms of our Oxford English Dictionary definition, but then when you asked them what the actual physical components were, they really, really struggled. So we came up with an approach which we now call the value triad, and it combines the emotional and the functional differences of value. At the top, one of the tangible measures of value is revenue gain. In other words, how can you demonstrate that what you do helps your customers to grow their revenue? And more importantly in value terms, how can you demonstrate that you can help them to grow their revenue more effectively than your competitors can do? In other words, how do you differentiate what you can do against your competitors? That's one area, revenue gain. So how can you help your customers improve their revenue? Any ideas? Go on then, Ken.
I know if someone's got an old computer, we put in a newer computer. We did this test with a particular company we were dealing with. They had 9 computers, we upgraded them all, and the 25% speed increase meant they didn't have to take on an extra employee.
And you could, and more importantly, what that demonstrates is you can calculate that cost. So it's no good saying to a customer, we can help you make more money, because the question I'd ask is, how much? How much more money can you help me make? And that starts to become really useful. That sort of also runs into the other tangible one, which is cost reduction. So the 2 key tangible value components are my ability to help you improve your revenue, or my ability to help you to reduce your costs. Now the reality of life today is that far too many of our customers believe that cost and price are the same thing. And they are completely and totally different. UKen have perfectly demonstrated how to get customers to spend money to save money. It's perfectly possible that I could have a solution that is twice as expensive as a solution of my competitors, but I can help you save far more money. And therefore my solution is better. Buying from me on the basis of my lowest price may not be a good move for you. But I don't know about you, I think most of us are finding that an awful lot of our customers are, if you like, going back to basics. And the basic for most customers is what's cheapest. And this is why understanding value is just infinitely important, because you have to be able to defend against that. When we started working on value, we were talking to customers and our clients about how to use value to demonstrate why our customers should pay a premium for the solutions that we were providing, because we delivered more of the things that customers wanted. Now, most of our clients are saying, how can we use value to defend our existing prices? Because we're under sustained attack in terms of driving down our price, and we need to think of ways in which we can actually drive it back up again. Those are the two tangible ones. And I'd actually go as far as to suggest that they're not easy to do, but if you really think about it, you can begin to think about how you can actually calculate and put numbers around revenue gain and cost reduction. The other one, which is every bit of it as important, is what I call, or what we call, emotional contribution. They reckon, don't ask me who this they is, because I have no idea, but they, whoever they are, they reckon that up to 80% of decisions are based on emotion. And all decisions are justified on the basis of logic, as we know. But emotional contribution in business is hugely important, and it's every bit as important as it is in domestic decision making. And by emotional contribution, I mean things like our ability to have great relationships with our customers, to build trust. Because it doesn't matter how good your product and service solution is, if your customer doesn't trust you, they ain't going to buy. So this particular area of emotional contribution is really important. Brand image, what's that worth? What value does brand image have? What value does trust have? Just think about something simple like bringing in a plumber. Where's Eric?
He is the plumber.
He is the plumber. But if you imagine a plumber, if I've had a problem last year and I've got a plumber in and he's done a really first-class job, he's not been cheap, but he's been good, who am I going to go to the next time I've got a problem? I'm going to go to the same person. Now, that might be ridiculous, because I could pick up Yellow Pages and get somebody at half the price. But it's high risk. I know this chap, I know he does a good job, I know I can leave the house when he's working and I won't come back to find all the silver's been nicked. Yeah? So we will pay for some of these things. There is a value that can be attached to this emotional part of the process. So just as a sideline, that's it. So value is a compelling, tangible and emotional return on time and money invested. What the customer perceives as adding value to his business and increases our returns and margins. Now, I have to say, I don't think the Oxford English Dictionary would let you get away with having a definition of value that included value in the definition. Thank you, Sue, for spotting that. But the one thing this definition does actually bring it to mind is the fact that value is double-sided. It's not just delivering value to the customer, but it's us having the opportunity to share in some of that value to our benefit. In other words, it's not leaving money on the table. It's about thinking about that 1% improvement in price that will help us to deliver an 8 to 11% improvement in our bottom line. Yeah, does that make sense? There had to be a formula here. The things we do over and above the competition, creating a profit, 1 + 1 = 3. Now I want to tell you, this is nothing to do with me. I take no responsibility for that. Now, Sue, when you deliver something more than expected. Now, how many of you think that's a good definition of value? Well, clearly that table did it. I'm going to say so they weren't exactly
You've been abandoned. It's all Sue.
They weren't rallying round, really, were they? When you deliver something more than expected. Yeah. Anybody got any criticisms of that as a definition? Right.
That's good value,
Not.
straight value.
And it might not even be good value. The thing about what we do for a living, our job, as Steve will tell you, as any good salesman will tell you, our primary job is to understand what our customers' needs are. More these days, it's about understanding the things that our customers truly value. What are the things that really make a contribution to our customers and help them to serve the needs of their customers more effectively? If you then start to deliver more than the customer asked for, any bright customer is going to say to you, hang on a moment, I actually told you that I wanted that. You're now delivering to me that. Well, I don't want that. So take it away and drop your price and I'll buy what I told you I wanted in the first place. Really?
No, I see what you mean.
None of my clients have ever said that.
But I think what we were trying to do...
I think it's a slightly different area where you're operating.
I think what we were trying to do was move away from it being mediocre and cheap.
I think you're right.
And it's not just about cost.
Absolutely right, and I think it's our ability. I'm being slightly pedantic in as much that what we're trying to do is to differentiate ourselves and demonstrate to our customers that we can deliver more of the things that they really want.
Take away that extra and give them a little bit less, but they're paying less for that. They think they've got a great bargain. That's value.
Well, that's starting high and coming down.
Yeah, which is slightly different. I think the important thing that we do need to bear in mind, though, is that as suppliers, the one thing we cannot afford to do is to deliver the same level of value and package to those customers of ours who are paying very little as we are delivering to those customers of ours who are paying a good deal more. And what I tend to find an awful lot is that there's very little difference in the packages that are provided, but quite a lot of difference between the prices that are being charged. And that is a potential road to serious problems. Because if your high-paying so-called key customers discover that your low-paying so-called risky customers are paying less than they are, this is not a good approach. So we're not good news.
But if you're providing a product to both of them, the one product is really top end and they're paying for that, and another one is paying a lot less, but the product is completely different.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely right, and that's a point. If a customer says to you, if you say, right, our product is that, this is the service package that goes with it, this is everything that you get in line with my understanding of what your needs are, and they say it's too bloody expensive, what you don't do is drop the price and leave them with the full package. You say, well, if it's too expensive, I'm sure we can actually do something about it, but clearly there are certain elements of the package that we're going to have to review. What tends to happen, because buyers know that 99% of salespeople have been completely and totally programmed to offer discounts, they say, you're too expensive. And the salesman says, oh, that's an awful shame, I have 5% off. And it happens. I mean, why do you think buyers consistently ask for a discount? Because they know they get it. If they didn't get discounts, they wouldn't ask for them. You know, and it doesn't matter who you're dealing with. If you're dealing with, domestic customers, if you're selling, your furniture to domestic customers, most of them will ask for, you can do it for less than that. The question is, can you?
There's also, just putting a strange slant on it, if you're saying that value is delivering slightly more, if the bit you deliver more is good, but the basic bit you deliver isn't up to scratch, it's you're delivering value, but people still go away from you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have to deliver the total package. I mean, that's about understanding what their basic needs are. You can't... It depends what your customers are buying, but most customers buy the totality of what you deliver, and you need to perform across the board. I mean, it's no point having a fabulous product and having an abysmal service that goes with it. I mean, you can have the best product in the world, but if you never get it because my logistics are appalling, then you're not going to deal with me. It'd be very sad that you can't, but, there's no point, is there?
Exactly, the sort of thing I was thinking of,
Yeah. Creating the perception in the customer's mind that they need our product more than they need our competitors. Now, that's selling. It's not value, it's very important, and that's exactly what we want to do, but it's not really a definition of value. Now here's a classic, and this is true, honestly, God's honest truth. To provide the customer with anything he or she appreciates. I looked at that and I thought, well, there's a corker, isn't it? Actually, I've got a much better idea. If you really want to do that, just go out onto the streets of Cambridge and give away £5 notes, because it's a much more effective way of going bust quickly than that one is. No. And then I turned over a card, and I finally arrived at the definition of value that I didn't think it at the time, but I think it now. And I put it on this card here. I turned over a card and I looked at it, and I looked at the audience. I thought, what am I going to say? Because on this card it had 4 words. And the 4 words are, value is a mystery. and I looked at this and I thought, oh my goodness, what do I say now? But the more I looked at it, the more I began to realise that that is the best definition of value of the lot. Because value is a mystery. Until you get to understand your customers intimately and understand what is really, really important for your customers, value is a mystery. You can spend all day in a darkened office thinking about what the value is that you deliver, but if your customers don't see it that way, you've just wasted a day. So the starting point of value is truly, truly understanding what value looks like from your customer's point of view. Okay. That was one. I said I had 7 key reasons why, and that's one. And it's well, nobody's got anything else to go on to, have they? Actually, no, it's fine. So number 1 of my magnificent 7 challenges of value is understanding what value is. And believe me, that is a very, very brief look at what value is. And certainly packaged around here and how you go about measuring value is really, really important. And I really would challenge you to think about your business, your customers, and the way in which you look at value from their point of view. And then when you've done that, you can move on to challenge number 2. And challenge number 2 is that you need to recognise that people's perceptions of value constantly change. So what they consider to be value today will not be what they consider to be value in a week's time or month's time. So it's really an ongoing challenge. My daughter got a job, a typical university graduate. She has a degree in philosophy and goes and works in a jewellery shop. But it was, in fairness, it was an upmarket jewellery store, very upmarket as it turns out. On her first evening, she rang me up and she said, Dad, she said, you are not going to believe this. She said, the cheapest watch in the building is £250. And we have watches in stock that are £10,000 or more. And if you want to pay £20,000, we can get it for you. And of course, she was looking at £250 in the context of coming out of university on a student loan where a tenner for a watch was pushing it a bit. So £250 was hugely expensive. Without a word of a lie, a month later we are having a conversation and she said, Dad, whatever you do, can you make sure I don't buy a £250 watch? I said, well, what do you mean? There's no way you're going to buy it. She said, well, no. She said, but actually, I now think of £250 as actually being pretty cheap for a watch. And it's all to do with comparison. The day she started, she was comparing £250 with the 10 quid as a student she could afford. Now she's comparing £250 with a £10,000 watch. £250 is, it's nothing, is it? In comparison with £10,000. Incidentally, in my sort of meanderings looking at expensive watches, I did find you can buy a watch that is made, the casing is made from the hull of the Titanic. Yeah, honestly. It's not waterproof, obviously. No, really, it is true. It's true, and it's £120,000. And that is cheap. Compared to what you can pay for watches, £120,000 is not a lot. Well, what does it do? It tells the time, that's all it does. And that £120,000 watch, that's all it does. Number 3 of your challenges, and I think this is every bit as important, you need to identify people who care. By that I mean you cannot sell value to people who don't care about value. In the corporate world, if all the only people you deal with are in procurement or buying, the only thing, bless them, I've heard a lot of things wished on them, not blessings generally. You're too nice for your own goods.
You have to love them all.
Yeah. The only thing they want to talk about is price, because that's what they're paid to talk about. But the reality is that procurement tend not to be the decision makers. The decision as to what to buy has been made some way elsewhere, and their job is to get the best possible commercial deal. So you need to talk to the people who care about value if it's value that you want to sell. Yeah? Number 4, and we talked about this before, differentiating. If you want to be valued, you have to be seen as offering a differentiation over and above your competitors that your customers attach some value to. being different is not being differentiated. Being different is being different. It may or may not have any value to your customers, and frequently doesn't. Now that we know what it is our customers value, now that we know what we want to deliver to our customers in terms of our value and how we're going to differentiate it, we need to communicate that differentiation. And again, I have to tell you, the number of times that we work with customers who have great products and great differentiation, but have completely failed to communicate that differentiation to customers is untold. And it is such a shame. You know, when you've got everything in the tool bag except the ability to communicate it effectively, that is really sad. So, I mean, have anybody come across the concept of value propositions? Yeah. It's a bit of a sort of management buzzword at the moment, but I have to say, buzzword it may be, but something that you really ought to think about doing and tailoring to the needs of individual clients. It certainly should be hugely, hugely important. Challenge number 6, when we've done all of those things, is we need to capture some of that value in our price. Yeah? If we're going to deliver to our customers a greater degree of value, because we can differentiate in ways that our customers appreciate, a greater degree of value than our competitors can do, we want a share of that value. And we capture that in terms of price. Anything less than a good price is leaving money on the table. Yeah? The customer gets all the benefit and you get none of it. And that's not right. And as I said, you only need to improve your pricing by 1% to deliver a fairly significant improvement to your bottom line. And we do a lot of work with clients in working out how to do that and how to pitch their pricing and where they should come in. The final challenge of value is you have to deliver. So challenge 7 is delivering the promise. Yeah, you told them all these great things you're going to do, you told them about this great additional revenue you're going to deliver and how you're going to reduce their costs and how easy their life is going to be now that they've chosen you, so now you've got to do it. And sometimes that's a big challenge as well. The other thing about delivering the promise is that I absolutely recommend that you measure what you've actually delivered, because it's a great way of utilising it as a case study for other clients when you can demonstrate that you really do deliver what you say you're going to do. Okay, everybody happy with that? Just on this subject of value, I want to show you how one company has taken a commodity product and is actually charging 17,500 times more for that commodity product through a branded alternative. Would you all like to do that? 17,500 times more than what you normally charge? Right, here we go. Now, I'm actually, this is absolutely fantastic stuff. It's tap water. It comes from Cambridge, and it's absolutely stunning. You're ahead of me, aren't you? Yeah. Well, funny enough, who saw that BBC programme on water?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Well, here are some little facts and figures that I've put together. Here we are. Tap water. Cool, clean and refreshing, and the Thames water prices are, it's 0.002 pence a litre. So in all honesty, it's about as close to free as you're going to get. And more than that, this stuff is incredibly versatile. You can drink it, you can wash with it, you can water the garden with it, you can do all sorts of things with it, and it's basically free. The real cost in water is disposing of your wastewater. That's where the real cost is, not in getting the fresh water through your tap.
Back to Eric again.
Back to Eric's getting a lot of free water at a time when perhaps he doesn't actually want it. But I think it's a little unfair to you. But for many people, actually having water like that isn't enough. The bottled water people have done an awful lot of work in making us believe that tap water is not as good for us as it should be. And it certainly isn't necessarily quite as convenient as it could be, because you can't take a tap round with you. So, here we have our friends at Evian. Now, Evian, this is low calorie. They tell us low calorie. Low calorie water. I've never come across a high calorie water, frankly. Low calorie, healthy and refreshing. It's about 80 pence. Actually, it was 87 pence in my supermarket the other day. But just to give you an idea, that's 400 times more expensive than a litre of tap water. So that's not a bad start, is it? So where's the value there? Why is this 400 times more expensive than tap water?
process.
That's got nothing to do with packaging, marketing, the name. I've convinced you that it's, you know, it's better for you, it's more convenient. It comes from France. It's got some je ne sais quoi or whatever else it might be. I'm coming on to my je ne sais quoi bit a bit more later. So there we go, 400 times more expensive than tap water. Now we move on to, so with a nice little top to it. This is the sports bottle. It's exactly the same inside, but now it's got a sporty cap, and it's now suddenly gone up to 99 pence a litre, or in English, 495 times more expensive than tap water. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is not enough for our marketing team at Evian, who are absolutely brilliant at screwing every last ounce of value out of their products, and they deliver for you. Ta-da! This, ladies and gentlemen, is a 1 litre bottle of Evian water. Inside this bottle is Evian water. But the bottle is designed by, this particular one is done by Paul Smith. Last year's was done by Jean-Paul Gaultier. And Jean-Paul Gaultier makes your bottle of water 5,500 times more expensive than tap water. Isn't that clever? Isn't that clever? But they haven't finished with you yet. Now, guys, let's be perfectly honest. You're not going to wash your car with this, are you? Or do your washing, or all the stuff. So, who's going to buy a bottle of water with that sort of price tag?
I might.
Who might?
Me?
Yeah.
If it was a beautifully designed bottle, I would.
Absolutely right. Yes. But are you buying it for the water that's in it? Exactly. So what you're beginning to buy isn't water anymore, it's the things that wrap around it.
Absolutely.
What's the hotel in London? There's loads of hotels in London, I can't remember which one it is, but one of the hotels has got a water list. They don't have just a wine list, they have a water list as well. Yeah, absolutely. And they do that New Zealand volcanic water. There's a wonderful water from Tasmania, which I just absolutely love. It's called cloud juice. We call it rain here. No, this is honestly, absolutely true. There's another bottle that actually costs just phenomenal amounts of money. The bottle's encrusted with what's that?
Swarovski.
Thank you, I can't pronounce it either. But anyway, look, I said I could beat 5,500. I did offer you 17,500 times more expensive, and the ladies and gentlemen from the Evian marketing department would proudly like to present you with.
Where's the spray?
Ta-da!
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, they say knowingly. Ladies and gentlemen, this in this can is, guess what?
Water.
Excellent. It is Evian water. But no longer is it called water. Not by the marketing department at Evian, it isn't. This is actually called a brunissateur.
A mister.
I don't quite know what that means.
A mister. Because it makes
it's a skincare atomizer, and it's going to contribute to your wondrous skin. I think. So but now, yes. So, and there you go. And you just go. There you go. Who's got one of these? Anybody ever? So
I haven't. No.
You're looking.
My skin doesn't need it.
You're looking.
And if it does, it comes out the tap.
Which is the best place for it to come, because one of those actually costs the equivalent of £35 a litre. And it's water. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where you're 17,500 times more expensive than tap water comes from. Now, all I'm saying with this is, if you can take something that is as basic a commodity as water and add that sort of value to it, imagine what you can do with what you provide your customers with. Now, that is the power of value, and thinking about value from your customer's perspective rather than your own. Because if you thought about water from our perspective, it would still be a pretty basic commodity. But these guys have thought about it in a very, very different way indeed. Right. So what I'd like to do is to issue you with a challenge, and the challenge is to really think about your businesses, think about what it is you actually offer to your